once you take over your new self-storage facility, you kind of want to repeat the whole due diligence process. Now that you actually own it, you've checked the leases before buying it, but you're going to need to verify everything and stay on top of everything and periodically audit your facility as well. But the main thing you want to do is, now that you're running it, is to implement your business plan that you put in place before buying it. And that is how you're going to increase revenues, increase profits for your business, and also reduce costs and reduce expenses that aren't necessarily necessary, and also where you're going to spend any capital to make improvements to get an increased return, increase your rents, etc. You also want to offset and balance your marketing spend and driving in new customers, because if you can create a backlog of people that want to move into your storage, you can increase rents, which massively increases the profit that you make at the end of the day as well. So what we want to consider is value add strategies. And by value add strategies, what we mean is changes that you make add to the value of the overall facility of the business itself as well. And we're looking at the profit and loss. So you've got revenue coming in, money coming in, you have expenses, and that essentially leads to your profit. So anything you can do to increase revenues, so that's whether more units are rented or more units are rented at a higher price, the existing units are rented at a higher price, or even less units are rented at a higher price too. Sometimes you make more money having a few less customers, but all of those rented at a much higher price than you would, having your facility full. If you're 100% full, but your rents are below market, you're missing out on rents. So what most self-storage facility owners tend to do is try to keep occupancy at the 92 to 95% mark. If you're 100% full, it means that you've got room to increase rents. I mean, if you increase rents and you're 100% full and your occupancy drops 5%, if you've increased rents by 10-15%, then overall you're much better off. You've got less customers, but you've got higher revenue, and then you can bring in new customers at the higher rents too. You also need to understand what you can and you can't control with your self-storage facility. For example, you can fix the management, you can improve the marketing, you can cut expenses. But if you're in a bad market, it's very hard to turn around. So that's why the decision-making process before buying is very, very important, going through and filtering which property you're going to buy in which market. Because honestly, if you're in a market with very low rents, you're not going to be able to charge extremely high rents, even though you've got wonderful customer service and they say good morning to every customer. You have to select good markets to begin with. That's something you can't fix. If you've got a bad location with poor visibility, it's very, very hard to turn that around after you take over. Those are kind of anchors working against you or for you, which is why you have to pre-select properties that have good visibility, good location, and they're in a good market, because that's not something you can turn around later, and it's unlikely that you can do anything to change that whatsoever. Okay, so you might take over your facility and find that there's 1,000 different things that you can do to improve the performance of your business, the profit, etc. So what you really want to do is focus on the things that have the biggest impact possible. If your occupancy is 60%, for example, getting to 90% occupancy is your single biggest impact. If your rents are below market, increasing the rental rate is the single biggest impact you can have. What you want to do is spend your time on things that have the biggest possible impact to your business in the short term, medium term, and long term as well. Sometimes we get clustered, we get bogged down with details, but really we should be listing out all of the different things we can do and then focusing on those things that we think are going to have the biggest impact on the bottom line, on the business as a whole. Of course, you can't neglect things, right? You can't neglect some of the important things, some of the admin things, just because they don't result in more profit. You still have to handle those. Those are necessary things you have to do. But when it comes to, okay, how do I improve my facility? What do I do? Focus on the things that are most likely to have an impact on the profit of the business. So cost reduction. Let's say you have a direct bill from a utility provider and you get quotes from 3 other utility providers and find that you've been overpaying, or the old owner's been overpaying. You change utility to provider, and basically then you can reduce the cost of that bill. Done. You've saved $500 a month. It instantly goes to your bottom line. That's kind of a direct expense reduction. You can look at the profit and loss. You have to spend that money on utilities. You found a cheaper option, great. Then there's kind of not so obvious operational efficiencies that help you to reduce cost. For example, if you switch to accepting online payments or doing remote leasing, you've basically then reduced the overhead cost of your staff and management. You may also get customers that you never could have got before, because now that you're online, it's convenient for them, easy to book. If they're not willing to kind of drive in and see the units, they can see on your website how everything looks. You've made cost efficiencies, you've increased revenues, but you haven't necessarily switched one cost for another there. You haven't reduced your utility bill in this particular case, but by creating more efficient systems, you've reduced the cost overall in many different aspects of your business. And then there's additional ways you can reduce costs, and that is, economies of scale. Let's say you had one property and now you have 3 self-storage facilities. If you can find a way to share the staff, the maintenance people, the resources across those facilities, you then benefit from management and operational efficiencies by having scale too. So very different types of cost reduction. One is simply just reducing the cost of a fixed bill that you're getting. The next is to create a better process or system that streamlines your business and therefore gets you more customers and also helps to reduce costs. And then operational scale gives you the ability to further reduce costs too, because you can cross-share functions. So what should you look at when you're looking at costs? You want to look at the entire profit and loss statement for the property. So you really want to get all of the expenses for the last 12 months and then just sort on an Excel file by top to bottom, biggest to smallest, and see which ones you can impact the most going through that list. So for example, the payroll. If you have an on-site manager, if you could do remote leasing and you can hire a part-time maintenance person, you could potentially save most of your payroll. Insurance. Are you offering insurance as an option to your customers? Maybe you can get a commission from the insurance company for offering their specific insurance. Or maybe you're overpaying for the insurance of the facility itself. So you want to look at all of the different kinds of insurance that you offer to customers, but also for the facility and the things that you're paying too. Your advertising. Is it really working? If you're spending $800 a month on ads, but you're not seeing any real result, or you're not tracking the result, how do you know it's really working? So this is often something that's overlooked, is to drill into the marketing and advertising and seeing where dollars can be saved as well. Office admin, there's always ways to cut down. What if most of your forms are online? What if a lot of your processes go to being online instead of having to manually come in, sign all the documents, fill out paperwork, etc. All of these different things have an impact on the cost that you need to pay for office administration. Postage, bank fees, utilities, trash, property management fees, the property taxes, you may be able to negotiate those as well. Pest control, you may need to process refunds for people. And the other big one is the credit card fees. So if everyone's on auto pay, then they're going to be paying around 3% of the bill to the credit card company as well. So you're going to lose around 2.1% of your revenue to the credit card company, unless you also can work in there into your lease agreement that credit card fees are added on top of the transaction fee, so you're getting the full amount. But that's unlikely in some particular markets. So we've talked about ways to reduce costs directly and indirectly, but then you also want to increase your revenue. This can probably have more of an impact. It's very hard to go to zero cost, right? It's very hard to go from 30% expenses to 10% expenses for the business. It's very, very difficult. But you can go from, say, 33% down to, say, 25% and have a significant impact there. But the main way that you can drive revenue is by increasing the rents and getting more customers. So if you're priced below the market of the competition, there's nothing stopping you from being a little bit higher. Sometimes what you find in the market is that the other owners don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to increase the price. But by simply increasing your price and being above market, you can encourage them to do the same, and it can lead to a spiral effect of increasing rents. They might not want to increase the price because they want to be a little bit cheaper than you, but if your facility is a little nicer or your marketing is a little better, then there's no reason why you can't increase your prices and then drive that additional revenue. You can also consider doing asset improvements. So even simple things like fixing a pothole in the road, repainting the doors, better signage, putting your phone number in bigger numbers onto your sign so that people can clearly see it. All of these little adjustments can add to very big differences in how your asset is perceived, and also people wanting to lease there and paying higher rents too. If I go to facility A, it looks a little bit dirty, I'm not sure if my stuff is safe. Then I go to facility B and it looks modern, clean, well looked after. I'd rather pay $120 a month to the new modern facility than paying $80 a month to one where I'm not sure I would ever get my stuff back. You can consider asset expansion, and what we mean by this is if you have land next to the property, you can build additional storage units, giving you instant additional revenue as they come to market as well. Another great way to increase revenues is not changing the rents, but simply to market more effectively. So using Google Ads to bring in customers, to drive traffic to your business, get those calls coming in to your customer service so you can then increase your revenue that way. If you're the only competitor in town on Google Ads and no one else is there, you're capturing all of those online leads. Or if your ads are more effective, if your ads are more optimized, you have more keywords. It's just like having another retail location, right? But this time it's in the cloud, it's in Google. People are walking past every day searching self-storage near me. You want to get in front of them. In real life, your facility is by a main road, people see you that way. And then you also want to be present on the road of Google. Google is a road, it's just traffic flowing through of people searching stuff, and your ad basically puts your facility in front of those people and brings them to you instead of your competitor. So you might be able to outcompete your competitors online, giving you an advantage because you're leasing up additional units even though you're higher priced. Why? Because if I call a self-storage facility, the price sounds okay and it's the first people I talk to, I might just rent from them there and there. Some people will shop around, of course, but if you're the first one they talk to, your customer service is friendly, the price is okay, there's a big chance that they'll move in to that facility too. So you do want to capture the top of Google. Then there's other ways to increase revenue, such as other income streams. You could put solar panels on the tops of your roofs of your storage. If you're a storage owner, you'll start to get letters and flyers and calls from people offering you different things that you can install at your facility. For example, the solar, that they're willing to then pay you a monthly fee for having. How to raise rents. Okay, this is super important. The very first thing to do is just to understand what's happened at the facility in the past as well. So when was the last time the rents were raised? By how much? How did that impact occupancy? You know, what changed? What happened to the revenues? Was it better? The next thing to do is you want to also then look at the competition rents in the market and understand, you know, where those are sitting as well. And if you use a tool like Radius Plus, you can look at the historical rents for the market also, so you get a better idea of what's been happening over time in that market as well. The more information you can gather on rent trends, the better. But don't always take the market rent to be what it is. Maybe everyone's been kind of chickening out on increasing the rents. You know, they haven't really been driving, maybe they're not on top of their business. You could be in competition with several mom and pops who don't like to shift rents around, but you don't know if people are willing to pay much more until you try and test it. You can always adjust rents later again if you need to, but it doesn't hurt to push and test increases to see how far you can drive rents up as well. And a great way to get the competition rents is simply to mystery shop them. Pretend to be a self-storage customer, call them, find out how much a unit is, and then compare the different unit prices for your different competitors. What they say online and what they say on the phone may be very different, so you also want to compare the website to what they say on the phone as well. But the phone is most likely what the walk-in rate would be if a customer walked into the facility and asked to rent a unit as well. So you want to avoid also discounting as well. So if you're discounting currently, then if you remove the discount, that's a way of increasing the rent too, because you're giving more revenue that way. So is there something else you can do instead? Maybe you can offer new customers, you know, a free lock, free boxes or something to move in that costs you $20 instead of giving away 1 month's free rent, which costs you $100. The other thing to do to increase rents is to have better customer service, better trained salespeople. If every time on the phone that customer calls in, your salesperson is able to convert them because of the words they use and the process they use, then you can also then increase the rents and you can get more people renting at those higher prices. So if you've got higher rents because the market's got higher rents too, but then your customer service process is bad and you're not renting units and converting them, that's going to affect your occupancy, and that's also going to affect your actual performance too. So you do need to consider having better trained salespeople as well. So once you've gathered all of this information and you've got a great process in place for monitoring your competition, you've looked at your own occupancy, you've looked at the trends in the market for rents, you know your customer service is ready and trained, then go for it and test rent increases. You know, some facilities increase 30-40% rents over the course of 6 months because they can. They test it, people are still coming in, they may drop their occupancy a little bit, but they're getting much higher revenues than they were before. The impact of every dollar of income. Okay, so when you're looking at reducing costs and increasing the revenue, at the end of the day, let's say you get $100 in revenue, you've got $30 in costs, you've got $70 left. Every $1 that you can increase this by is worth $15. Why? Because $1 of NOI at a 6.5% cap rate basically translates to $15 in value for the facility. What that means is, if your facility is making $100,000 profit every year at a 6.5 cap, then the price is going to be around $1.5 million. So if you can increase it by 100,000 profit, you've added 1.5 million in value to the top line, to the value of the facility. A lot of people don't realize that, you know, every incremental dollar has so much of an impact on the value of the property to themselves as well. So find ways to cut those costs, increase your revenue, and if you can do that by $200,000 at a 6.5 cap, you've basically just added $3 million in value to your facility. It's amazing. So periodically look at what you're doing to drive revenue, what strategies you're using to do that, and also periodically review your expenses to see how you can reduce these, and over time you'll find ways to operate your facility better and better and better, leading to more profit and higher values as well.
For more information on commercial real estate investing, go to patriotholdings.com. Thanks for listening.